Hey, welcome in live on a Friday. It's the PHNXCardinals podcast from Studio K, presented by our friends at Circle K. It's a football Friday with your favorite premier Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star wherever you get your programming. Become a diehard. Go PHNX.com. I'm Johnny Venerable. He is the returning Bull Brack, along with producer extraordinaire Damon, Dawg, fresh off their heels of the trip to Indy. They are back in Phoenix, and we're here for your definitive Colts Cardinals preseason week 2 preview. How we living, my friend?
We're living well. It's like we never left. It was a little short jaunt to Indy.
Missed it already.
We risked our lives to be here.
Oh my God.
We did. Things got a little iffy this morning on the way to the airport. But
you care to elaborate? You can't just open that up and then not say what happened.
Yeah, we'll get to it in a little bit, right? Okay. We'll get into it. Our little adventure from the hotel to the airport. But glad to be back. We're less than 24 hours away from preseason week 2 for the Arizona Cardinals. A pivotal week of their preseason, of course, because of the joint practices. And then just one step closer to these games actually mattering, Johnny.
Yeah, and we're going to have the full crew mañana tomorrow in studio ready to break it all down. Halftime, post-game show. And this is the definitive preseason game, right? This is what they ramp up for. And we've got a number of camp battles that I think are maybe being a little bit underserved nationally. Like the Arizona Cardinals, in my opinion, have a wide open competition for QB2 after foolishly thinking it was dead and buried. And then on top of that, like as the pass rusher turns, are the Cardinals in a position to add a player? Are they going to promote from within? Are they going to have guys like Cameron Thomas and Dumakaji? Are they going to play the whole game again? Are they being showcased? Like something tells me Sanderson Ford behind the scenes is working the phones like only he can, because with the Arizona Cardinals right now, offensively, it feels like we got a pretty good idea where they're going. Defensively, I feel like that things are wide open. Battles are wide open for this team, Bo.
Yeah, I think you liked what you saw in your first action, though, in preseason from your defense. I mean, it was a punt fest. I mean,
yeah, it was good.
Blake Gillikin and the Saints punter, forgive me for not knowing who the hell that is, even though he was in action, Dirk McGirt, just sending punts into the State Farm Stadium ceiling all game, at least the first half. Nearly 8 straight punts between the two teams. I think you still have to kind of hesitate with your idea that, hey, could this defense surprise, because of the skepticism as far as the pass rush, right? Yeah. I mean, you're just not comfortable with that room. And I think that another preseason game, another opportunity for the guys that are given a second chance with this organization, guys that they like, but somebody has to emerge. Somebody has to show that they can be productive off the edge. And, I think that it would take a lot. It would take a Herculean effort from the group and the guys that are expected to be locks for roster spots to avoid any type of tweak, I think, to that room.
Yeah, and again, a couple QBs, couple edge rushers, maybe a couple running backs, a lot to gain tomorrow. And that brings us to our topic of discussion today. Who has the most to gain and subsequently lose for the Arizona Cardinals tomorrow? Because I think, saw a lot of good things in practice you did this week, Bo and Damon, on full display, but we mostly were highlighting the strides of the first team, the first teamers. Like, this is where Clayton Tune and Desmond Ridder in particular are going to have an opportunity to really help themselves. Desmond Ridder, we both know, did not help himself last week. Clayton Tune came in there and competed in the second half. And again, if this weekend looks like last weekend, that noise is only going to grow louder. It's going to grow louder here as we pivot into our training camp predictions, our watches for tomorrow. Who has the most to gain? I'm going to start with the co-host, Bull Brack. Couple guys on your radar ahead of Saturday night's action in Indy.
Yeah, I know, but like before that, and kind of on the heels of your comments about Ridder. I mean, Ridder and his second team offense, they got an opportunity yesterday in the 2-minute drill.
Oh,
and it was over and done with after one play. It was an overthrow from Ridder, and a cold safety came up with the pick. And as soon as they stepped on the field after the first team offense, Clayton Tune was out there with the third team offense already. So in two times now in this preseason, in preseason game 1, you had, Clayton Tune going 15 for 24 with 160 yards and a touchdown and getting points. And then you've got Desmond Ridder, who's like 4 for 9. Sure, he scrambled fine. He scrambled well. And then, you've got the joint practice where I think you saw, pretty decent play from Tune. They still couldn't cash in either in the joint practice in the 2-minute drill, but it was a much better showing. So right now, as far as the eye test and actually things that matter when you're competing against an opposition that's not wearing the same jersey as you, Clayton Tune is outplayed Desmond Ridder. And like, we'll get into who has the most to gain. We're not ready to just do it just yet. I am excited about the potential of the debut of Max Melton, though, before we get into who has the most to gain. I don't think he has a ton to gain, but I think the experience of him potentially hitting the playing field for the first time as a pro, that's exciting. I mean, this is a guy that, a lot of people were a little confused by the pick, especially with who they were in position to take and then traded back for, and then ended up taking Melton 45th overall, and then kind of seeing the skill set and getting excited by that. I mean, I think you should be amped to see Max Melton make his debut tomorrow. I think it's going to happen.
Yeah, that's exciting to see. And again, I was very encouraged by the defensive back play last week. So the more the merrier, and that unit's only going to get better. I thought Starling Thomas had another good week helping himself, dating back to last Saturday. Rabbit, the safety, Taylor Demerson looked good. So Cardinals, we bang on this. I bang on the pass rush every day on this show. Like, cornerback room, while there's not, a certified all-pro, they have plenty of options, I think, to get it done this year. Led by Sean Murphy-Bunting, Garrett Williams, right? They have a nice mix of veteran players and then youthful optimism from these last 2 drafts, both within their own class and then undrafted free agents. And then, of course, they took Starling Thomas off the waiver wire last year, and he's been a gem of a find. So, again, a lot to watch for. But, again, there are players that have the most to gain tomorrow. Some of them fighting for starting spots, some of them fighting for a roster spot. Let's get into it, Bo. Let's go to my co-host here. The most to gain for the Arizona Cardinals mañana. Who you got?
Let's take a look at the graphic. If you're listening, I'll go through this one, and we talked about him already. Desmond Ridder. I think that it's going to be important for him to go out and move, be productive, and move the chains and get into a rhythm with his offense for the first time, I would say, since he's donned the Arizona Cardinals uniform. And it hasn't been long, right? I think Clayton Tune absolutely has the advantage of being in the second year in this system. But, you need to see Ridder. Like, if you want him to take claim of this backup quarterback spot to Kyler Murray, as I said last week going into the preseason game, the only reasoning and logic behind that is resume. Yeah. And it hasn't been proven by play on the practice field, and hasn't been proven in play now in a preseason game. And it hopefully isn't going to be, unproven still after 2 preseason games. So Desmond Ridder, about 500 in his career as an NFL starting quarterback. And I think everybody believed probably better served to be a backup. But at the same time, you still have to prove yourself in this league. It's more than just holding the clipboard nowadays in the NFL. Like, if the Arizona Cardinals, if he has to be your go-to guy, and you got to think back to Colt McCoy back when he was healthy and he was able to come in, operate this offense and win a couple games, where, I think based off his performance, people are a little weary that Ridder can be that guy. And I know, and that's obviously off of what Clayton Tune did and didn't do in his one opportunity, Johnny, last year in Cleveland.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that a team was actively going to start either Clayton Tune or Desmond Ridder, and there were 2 teams that were doing that. The Atlanta Falcons went into their offseason program with Desmond Ridder as their starter, which is, let's just call it what it is. It's pretty laughable in hindsight. And the Arizona Cardinals, we know how they operated last year. It was a very passive approach, purposely passive. And so now we fast forward, and it's like, hey, I don't think Clayton Tune has been great, but Desmond Ridder, outside of experience, like, which I was excited about his experience. Don't get me wrong. Like, what's the upside you're getting right now? Because if you're a savvy veteran with a little bit of mobility, what do you not need to do? You can't turn the ball over. And he's been turning the ball over seemingly at will with some egregious interceptions. So if you're the Arizona Cardinals and you're needing, a 2-week Band-Aid, God forbid, and Kyler Murray misses time, like, is Desmond Ridder going to throw away a game for you? Whereas, like, say what you want about Clayton Tune. He was drafted by this franchise. He took one for the team last year against Cleveland. He outperformed Colt McCoy in training camp last year. He is stand-up guy every time. And I know this doesn't matter on the field. Every time we're in the locker room, Bo, and he's so approachable. He talks to the media. He's a great human being. We had an opportunity to talk with his QB coach, his offensive coordinator or not offensive coordinator, but his QB coach in Indy at the combine, and just raved about him. And after that conversation, I was pretty, well bent on thinking that he was going to be the guy. And then they traded for Ridder, and I understand the value, didn't give anything up with respect to Rondale Moore, but I would love to see Clayton Tune go out tomorrow and have his best performance and just put this to bed. I think it would,
you just want Tune Squad to take over.
I feel like right now that's where it's headed. Because with Desmond Ridder right now, you put him out there with your twos and Zay Jones and Chris Moore and company, like, he can't take advantage of what I think those guys are capable of doing, at least with Tune and the arm strength. Throw some 50-50 balls up there. I saw the throw down the sideline last week to Tajon Palmer. That would have been like a 35, 40-yard gain that Tajon Palmer, he just dropped, and then there was a holding penalty involved. Like, that should have been one of Clayton Tune's best throws as a pro.
Yeah.
And they'll look at that in the film and they'll commend him for that. But, like, if that's Chris Moore, and no disrespect to Tajon, he's a young pup, he's a rookie. But if that's Zay Jones, they're probably coming down with that. It's just help your QB. I also think, Clayton Tune, while he's in the same offense, he's being asked to go through training camp with a completely different set of skill players that he went through training camp last. He was like the number one starter. He was out there with Michael Wilson. He was with Greg Dortch. He was with Trey McBride, and he looked better, right? When Zach Ertz and Rondale Moore are out there with Colt McCoy. What an offense that was. Now it's like, hey, go out there with the third stringers. Some of these guys are fresh out of the draft class. Maybe some of them are undrafted in Xavier Weaver's case, and go perform. And that tells me much more about a guy and his moxie, his ability to compete. So I have been converted again. Initially, I was Tune, and then I was like, Ridder's got the experience. I have not seen any Ridder.
Yeah, you've seen the light. The Tune Squad has brought you back, and that's exciting here. I don't want that to happen. I don't want it to be an easy decision. Like, Desmond Ridder needs to not ratchet this thing up a little bit. He does. To kind of be fair here, Blake Whiteheart, the tight end undrafted in the 23 class, but is remained on this roster and saw a cup of coffee last year on the active roster. Ridder did drop one pass in the bucket. Should have been a big play for him. Probably the prettiest ball he threw all last week. And it's going to get me into my next guy. It's like the people around Ridder, like, and JG said this in the post game, and then on Monday following the preseason game, is like, Ridder wasn't exactly getting that much help. Like, it was the offensive line, which was primarily the second unit, struggled mightily against the New Orleans Saints, and Ridder didn't have a whole lot of time to throw. So I'm looking towards third round pick Isaiah Adams to have a bounce back, have a clean game, to build some confidence. Now, I know Baldy kind of gave us a little bit more insight on Adams' day and said it wasn't as bad as we initially thought. Sure, there was the egregious sack, but for the most part, according to Baldy, he was competing his ass off each and every snap and handling it and taking on some impressive defensive players, guys who have logged a lot of snaps here at the NFL level, and Adams was going right at him. So, but I want to see it. I don't want to have like that one turnstile play where, like, shoot, is this guy going to be able to stick at this level? And I know it's very early on for a guy that was playing tackle last year in the Big Ten to slide in and play guard. But, if they're going to rely upon him, if he's going to be on the active roster, and he should be as a third round pick, you want to think, hey, he could potentially go in there. Somebody gets rolled up on and has an ankle or something, has to come out for a play or two, and Adams can fill in.
Yeah, just the jump to the next level is going to take a while, and that's okay. I mean, I would consider him a project developmental player, but the attributes, as Baldy mentioned, and that was really encouraging. If you didn't have a chance to see our interview with Baldy from earlier this week, I would encourage everybody to check that out. How powerful, and he looks the part, does Isaiah Adams. The mental part of it, and this isn't a knock against him, not everybody can be Paris Johnson Jr. as a top 7 pick, but the mental piece is tough. And that's why, I mean, there are guys that can come into the NFL game and it's seamless. And then, there's some projects out at the University of Illinois and other, they're not mid-major schools, but they're not competing for national championships yet. So putting expectations on a guy that bounced around the offensive line at Illinois because his team needed him to, and then having the expectation, well, he's going to come in and compete. Maybe it was a little naive of all of us. Evan Brown, who's been in this league for a long time, who's pound for pound one of the strongest, if not the strongest player on the roster, like, he's not giving that job away. So I think Isaiah Adams is going to be in an advantageous position if somebody goes down. And then you think about it, like Evan Brown and Will Hernandez are free agents next year. Like, you would assume one of those spots is going to be there for him to grab and run with. And that's what you hope, right? You hope that this time next year, we're talking about Evan Brown, just like we're talking about like the Owen Papos of the world, having great camps, and they're vying for starting jobs potentially. So again, building a pipeline of offensive linemen is a great thing. I think this team is going to do it every year. They're going to use a top 100 pick on a defensive lineman and offensive lineman. And kudos to Austin Ford. As unprepared as I think the Cardinals are at pass rusher, it's the opposite for the offensive line, and that's to protect the investment, Kyler Murray. So I'm with you. I'm looking forward to watching him, and like, the physicality is there. He looks the part. Just give him time.
And then I wanted for my third one to go with a defensive battle, and I shied away from it because I think this one's going to be more intense.
Okay.
I think Darren Hall tomorrow is another guy to follow with. Had another strong week for the Cardinals in Indy.
Yeah,
he showed up, forced fumble, pass breakup. He was all over the place for the Cardinals in the preseason week 1. I think he's vying for one of the remaining, available defensive back spots.
Yeah.
And probably with somebody, who knows, maybe with like Keitrell Clark. But I look to this wide receiver group, the back end of it, because we were just kind of forecasting a little bit. And of course, you've got Marv, you've got Michael Wilson, you've got Greg Dortch, you've got Zay Jones, and we're pretty confident that Chris Moore has a spot on this roster.
Yeah.
So we have 5 spots accounted for. And then you're looking at 1 spot remaining for 3 guys. And, like, no disrespect to Daniel Arias, the undrafted player out of Colorado going into his second season that played on practice squad last year. And the guy they brought in after releasing Jeff Smith earlier this week. It's down to like Xavier Weaver. It's down to Dan Chesnia and Zach Pascal. And I think Pascal has the edge as far as this group goes. And you could also, keep in, Tajon Palmer there, as you mentioned, could have come up with a big catch there, 6th-round pick at a UAB. So that's going to be important. Like, who can make the plays, who can also show up outside of just running routes and making plays in the passing game, who can show their value on teams in places like that.
I think the last spot is between Chesnia and Pascal. I think because you have to be a special team savant. I think Xavier Weaver.
Weaver does in the return
in a different way.
He's pretty shifty and speedy.
I think you could sneak him on your practice squad, and Chesnia probably too. But I mean, if you're asking me, and my list is very telling of this, Chesnia has been more impressive this training camp. Like, if we're going off of training camp alone, Chesnia has looked better as a receiver.
You're a Dan Stan. That's what you are. You're a Dan.
I love the voodoo witchcraft he's performing on the number 17. I've made that clear. Like, he looks. Can I just be real for a second? Like,
no,
he looks good catching the football. I'm sorry. What if Dan Chesnia goes off again tomorrow and has a huge game with Clayton Tune? I mean, people are gonna be pissed if they cut him. Dare I say, I'm getting some Greg Dortch preseason vibes from.
Oh no, don't do that to him, because it's not even close to the same. It's not even close to the same. How dare you?
Chesnia has been on viable playoff team rosters. This is not a token.
He's 27, Johnny. He's 27 years old. Greg Dortch is like 25.
Right.
And I mean, I love that you're a Dan Stan. That's good. But
I mean, he checks the box. He's 6'3", checks the boxes of what they're looking for. He went to a major university, went to Penn State. He's only been in the NFL this is his 5th season. So, I mean, he came out of college, 22, 23 years old. So
he has 0 regular season receptions.
I think
he's
he might be ready.
27 years old.
All right. We're burying the lead here. We'll get
We're
to
also
mine.
butchering his name every single time that we say it.
Chesnia.
It's not Chesnia.
Chasana.
There we go.
Chasana?
Yeah.
Chesnia.
Well, we're pushing for a roster spot. I think we can call him whatever we want, right? Isn't that how it works?
We're just gonna call him Dan.
Hey Dan. Hey Dan C. Good to meet you.
A real Dan Stan would know how to say his name.
Yeah, exactly.
Chasnia. Let's get to my list. Enough of this screwing around here on a Friday. I like your list. I didn't put Clayton Tune on mine because I assumed you would take it, and I deferred it to you. So Clayton Tune's not on either of our lists.
I mean, it's Ridder Tune. I mean,
right.
that's what Ridder. I have. If you have one, you have the other.
I don't have either. But here's my list. Damon, Dawg, if we could. Michael Carter Jr., like, enough of this BS. He's 5th string running back. Like, the Cardinals, the way they situated their depth chart this week, it looks like he's like the co-3rd string back.
He's not. Now, that was clarified to me.
Okay, please elaborate, because some people pointed that out to me, Bo.
Yeah, I did it well. I pointed that out as soon as they released the second week depth chart.
Yeah,
it did look like that, but then it was clarified to me that the depth chart hadn't changed, and it was just how they had kind of reformatted it, and he was still in the same spot he was the previous week. So he wasn't just beneath, because they said that they would designate it as, like, so let's say it's Michael Carter Jr. and Amari Dermacado. It would be Carter or Dermacado in the RB3 spot, and that was not on the.
So we have more clarity on that than we like. This time last week, he was behind everybody on the depth chart. He was in last place outside of Tony Jones Jr. So, like, that's promising. If they're going to keep 4 backs, though,
what do you mean it's promising? He didn't move anywhere. He's still just ahead of Tony Jones Jr. on the depth chart. But at the same time,
he's right there with DeMercado based on your rationale. Then. And he played last week, and guess what? DeMercado didn't play. So I would give the edge.
He was coming off of an injury, though.
Right.
He was nicked up.
Well, let's see who plays first Saturday night. And again, back to my most to gain. All Michael Carter does when he plays for the Cardinals is, hey, do you want a half a first down every time I touch the ball? Is that good, guys? Hey, Drew Petzing, Coach Petzing. Every time I touch the football, I'm getting 5 or 6 yards per clip, dating back to last year. Is that good? Would you rather me not do that? Would you like me to do that for another team? It's ridiculous. And I'm not going to sit here and overreact to one preseason game from Trey Benson running behind the 2s on the Saints' -- 1 defensive line. Michael Carter looked much more comfortable than Trey Benson did last week. And I thought Trey Benson was fine. 22 being allowed to hit the open market would be an egregious football malpractice. And I don't think it's going to happen. Michael Carter Jr., to me, has a firm place in this backfield.
He was the best player in the game last week.
He was our MVP of the game. He was our player of the game.
And 40 yards and a touchdown. He was getting rush. He was getting chunk yardage when he was carrying the rock. He looked like the same guy he was that helped him win football games, and didn't win a whole lot of them last year. But he was key. It felt like in every single one of those games.
You emphasize help them win football games. He's a winning player.
Yeah.
Sometimes it goes beyond numbers, even though his numbers are good. You just watch him catches the football, breaks tackles, elusive in the open field, winning football player. We've had a lot of not winning football players here in Arizona, and we can go off and name a bunch of them. We probably already have indirectly to begin this show. He's a winning football player. So again, help yourself. Michael Carter Jr. one more time, tote the rock, get in the end zone, secure your roster spot.
There's noting, though, that DeMercado was running with the 1s during the 2-minute drill last week, probably from a pass protection standpoint, but that's probably the reason that he's going to make the roster.
I mean, that's the thing. I mean,
what the hell are they going to do?
I'm digging in. I think that they're not going to carry 5 running backs. And it's just like when you start to count them up, you got James Conner, obviously. You got Trey Benson because of where he was drafted, and of course, you are excited about what his future will bring.
Yeah.
And then it's DJ Dallas in a special teams role primarily, and then you've got two guys for one spot, and it's Dermocado and Carter. And like, you're looking at the depth chart, you're looking at what Damon and listening to what Damon's saying as far as who is out there with the first team offense, and their kind of lone opportunity to be a group this preseason together with Kyler Murray in there, and number 31's in there, and Carter's not. And that, like, but this is just us telling you that, to where I'm with you. Like, I think sometimes it can be paralysis by overanalysis. Like, sometimes you're looking at a guy at Dermocado and you're looking at a guy like Carter. It's like Dermocado can be this jack of all trades, and that's great, and it's awesome, and you need those players. But what Carter does and how he can kind of give a boost to the Cardinals offense, and has proven at this level, I think brings more value. I think he's a more valuable football player than Amari Dermocado.
I would cut DJ Dallas. I know you take a hit, but like, the Cardinals have enough cap space.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't
deal
be
with that.
Let me see.
It wouldn't be the Tiger King. I mean, they wouldn't be.
I mean, he hasn't been super impressive.
TJ finding out that we just put him on the bubble.
His cap hit this year is $2 million. They'd have about $1 million of dead money and save about $1 million. Next year, he's under contract, goes up to $3 million. They'd save $2.4 million to about $600,000 of dead cap. I mean, they signed him to a 3-year contract. Right. It'd be a pretty big omission by Austin Ford. What is going? Did I lose?
You must have been watching the same. Hold on, let's just go through that again. Damon has come to the conclusion that DJ Dallas is on the roster bubble.
Nice. I missed that. I was doing research for the
you were
the show. I can't see it. Like, if you're Austin Ford, you're going to cut a guy you just gave a 3-year contract to. That'd be pretty big indictment. Hey, money.
Yeah, but it's like,
money probably should have gone to a pass rusher.
With the amount of money they have in cap space, and it's what is it? You said $2+ million.
Who's returning kicks then?
If you're keeping Dermocado, he can. Like, I hope he can play that role.
Have you seen him do it yet at training
camp?
Yeah,
he's with the twos. Like, it's Dortch and DJ Dallas, and then it's Dermocado and like Xavier Weaver on the second group.
Yeah, I'd be tempted to have Dortch out there doing it. Certainly punt return, but DJ Dallas, like, again, we haven't seen one highlight thus far from camp, and Michael Carter, every time he touches the football, is electric. It's an electric player. That's why we were fired up when the Cardinals claimed him. I talked about now you're going to make me hesitate to say his name. Chisnia. I'm a big Dan C fan.
Yeah.
I hope he makes the team. I like Zach Pascal.
Chesnia.
There's no Ia. That's the main thing that we need to come to the conclusion of.
How do you pronounce it, Damon?
Chesina.
Dan
Chesina.
Chesnia. I feel like he'd be cool with how we pronounce it. I feel like we're giving a little extra flavor, a little extra love.
Hey, he's probably just talking. If you're talking about me, I love it.
He's looked good. I again feel pretty confident he gets cut. Somebody's going to claim him. And then lastly, and I'm at the point.
I'm not confident in that.
You don't think he would get picked up off waivers? I do.
For like a team's role.
Yeah, and like be a viable contributor. I mean, he's just a steady, sound player. And I think Zach Pascal, when was the last time he caught a pass in, a meaningful game? I get that that's not what he's being asked to do anymore, so that might be the trump card. But all right, my last one, Xavier Thomas, Damon, is the last on my most to gain. Let's see Xavier Thomas out there with the first team defense that opts to play. Like, the first time the Cardinals play defense tomorrow, I want to see Xavier Thomas, the rookie at outside linebacker, pass rusher. Is he ready to perform on early downs in run defense? I don't know. Could be a big question mark for him. Is he a better pass rusher now? Damon and Ball, I'll pose this to you. Is he a better pure pass rusher now than everybody not named Zaven Collins and Dennis Gardeck? Is Xavier Thomas a better pass rusher than Dumakaji, Jesse Luketa and Cameron Thomas right now?
I'd say yes.
Just pure pass rusher, but we know that that's not what.
It's not everything.
Yeah, the Cardinals not everything. Like, you have to be able to cover. You have to be able to be forcing the rush game. So sure, like pure pass rusher, pinning your ears back, getting after the quarterback. Yeah, we've seen he looks, as Baldy said, he's got elite quickness off the edge, and that's great. But does he just get too fired up and blow past maybe a ball carrier? I mean, yeah. So yeah, I mean that's a good. I think he's got that. Part like when they need that and it's third down. I think Xavier Thomas is already making the case to be in the lineup,
helping them, whether it be on third down or rotational player. They need all the help they can get in that position group right now. You need all the help you can get saving money, looking for tickets in your area, not only to cards games, but comedy shows, entertainment, festivals, what have you. Use our friends at Game Time, the premier ticketing app of the Venerable household and PHNX Sports, the only ticketing app I use, point blank, period. And if you're a new customer, download the app today. The bonus code PHNX is going to get you $20 off your first purchase. And again, it's like, listen, if you want preseason tickets, right? If you're in the area for the Colts game, if you're going to be in Denver, if you got an opportunity to go to any of the regular season games, you're not going to find a better place to dabble than Game Time. Last minute ticket deals, flash deals, zone deals. They've got the interface, which is a fancy word saying like the layout of the app. And when you go to their website is far superior than any other ticketing app. I mean, it breaks down exactly where your seats are. No surprises, no hassle. It takes a matter of minutes to get your tickets. Everything is just streamlined and easy, right? And then on top of that, in my opinion, it's the lowest price guarantee that you're going to find. Save up to 60% off buying last minute tickets for sports, concerts, comedy, theater shows, and more, plus parking passes. It's your one-stop shop. My wife went to the red and white practice a couple weeks ago, had never used Game Time before. And while those tickets were free and the parking, she did everything on the app, first timer, seamless, took 10 minutes, got 5 people into the red and white scrimmage. And it's like the interface, the accessibility, everything you need is in one app. $20 off with the bonus code PHNX. Terms and conditions apply. Again, create an account, redeem it. PHNX, $20 might cover your entire ticket. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
When you're looking for somebody to help you and your company take things to the next level, when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for candidates isn't to search at all. Don't search, don't match with Indeed. Like, they are going to take all the heavy lifting for you and get you the right candidates for your company. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to their Indeed data. Matching engine helps you find quality candidates and find them fast. You're not going to be sitting there searching and having to carry the load for very much longer. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with the top candidates and do it fast. If you're hiring, receive a $75 sponsored job credit right now. When you, if you're a listener to the show, you can get $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/AllCity. Just go to Indeed.com/AllCity. And also, of course, while you're doing that, show your support saying that you heard about them by listening to PHNX Cardinals to this podcast. Indeed.com/AllCity. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Love our friends at Indeed. Love our friends in the chat. How about some super chats here on a Football Friday? Got 5 on the docket. We'll remind everybody, like this video. Subscribe to PHNX Sports here on YouTube. Jason, $2. Thank you so much, Jason. Ridder should be on a really short leash tomorrow. That touchdown pass that he botched was inexcusable. And then to not have a good week in joint practices. I mean, maybe the Cardinals have seen all that they need to, and they're waiting for Clayton Tune to grab the baton and run with it. But they have no allegiance to Ridder, Jason. I think that you're absolutely right. Like, if they cut him tomorrow, Rondale Moore, respectfully, is out for the year with the Falcons. Like, they've won this trade by default. And if Ridder is only around to help push Clayton Tune into the direction that they want and have that healthy competition, then it was a success. But you can't give him QB2 with the kind of performance he's having. Like, somebody needs to take this job tomorrow.
I think that's exactly it. And I just want to point out that, like, I feel like Tune is kind of getting in a situation where it's like Ridder has looked so bad that now we're starting to be like, oh, Tune, he looks pretty good. Whereas in
has
camp,
that ever happened before?
That's how he's making a living doing that.
Right.
And in the 2-minute drill, I mean, like, Tune didn't throw a pick on the first play, but he didn't necessarily look very good.
It wasn't the first play, but the first play he actually made a pretty good pass, but then he was putting the ball in harm's way.
No, that first play he threw a duck in the air, and what's his name?
Was Zay Jones?
Zay Jones came down with it, made a great contested catch. It was a pretty poorly thrown pass, and then also he's throwing like 3-yard passes in the middle of the field with 40 seconds left and no timeouts. Like, that's horrible quarterback play.
Right.
He took about 15 to 20 seconds off the clock, gaining 3 yards in that drill. Like,
well, that's what I'm saying. I wanted him to go and clean it up and go grab the job.
Yeah. I think, Jason, I really appreciate your super chat, and I see you got another one coming up here soon. But I mean, Kyler's not playing this preseason. I don't know if there's going to be a short leash. They're just going to let him go. They're going to let both these guys go out there and play. They got 2 full games for somebody to win a job.
Yeah, we're talking about tomorrow, the third game. They're going to play a lot too. I mean, that could be real interesting. That has been reserved in the past for the Trace McSorleys of the world, when you know they're not going to be on the roster the following Monday.
I think I saw McSorley. Did he sign with Washington?
Oh yeah, of course he did. Of course, old Trace McSorley's in Washington. How about this with the Commanders? Johan Dotson, my boy, sounds like there's speculation he might not make the team.
Do you see what he's doing?
What's he doing? I haven't been.
He's holding on kicks. They're just finding any spot.
Oh, he's the holder. I thought you meant he was holding like in kick.
The old Johnny Venerable special that JG put you as his holder. The Commanders are looking for laces out.
Put it down.
John.
Put it down. You can
John, laces out, baby.
You can be our holder, and we'll never kick. We'll always go to that. I mean, Washington. I mean, he wasn't their first round pick, but he was the 16th overall pick out of Penn State.
Somebody informed Cliff that he's under 6 feet, and he's like, "Oh, perfect. He's my wide receiver too."
You know, when I had Christian Kirk, he had 1,000 yards. Johan. Oh, okay. I know that's not his name. I'm so sorry about that. Interesting. Well, things will go well in Washington this year. Everything will be fine. Baharo, $5 Bo. Problem with Tune creates a Chris Streveler situation. Dear God, speaking of PTSD, we know he's bad, and during a pivotal moment, he shows he's not capable. I know Tune, Streveler, but still, I think it just comes down to Baharo. Like, they don't have a great backup. I think we all know the state of this roster. You have to have Kyler Murray if they have any shot at the postseason. But, like, I would ask you and everybody in the chat, like, who's Jordan Love's backup, right? Like, Justin Herbert's backup is Easton.
Yeah,
Easton Stick. I mean, there are not a lot of great backups in the NFL.
Yeah.
Most of the time, you're going to your backup, you're taking it out. We were spoiled by Kurt Warner taking over for Matt Leinart, and then Bruce Arians always had Drew Stanton on standby to help them win games. And even, I bang on him now. Colt McCoy was very viable behind K1. So maybe it just is going to take them a couple years to figure it out.
The days kind of the veteran backup are gone. It's not a trendy thing to do. I mean, what the Cardinals are doing is what's kind of in vogue in the league, where they're just drafting and going off the rookie salary, because, as Craig Morgan pointed out in his article with Jake Plummer and Kurt Warner, the starting quarterbacks are commanding so much money that you have to kind of go cheap on that spot. So that's what you get, though. And I think it's a good point by Baharo. Let's keep it going with these super chats. How about goes to Pat Tilley. Thank you so much for the $20 super chat. So generous. Number 17. He's talking about our guy Dan right now. He sports number 17. The curse in the Desert Phenom props to hit Jim Hart was the first Cards jersey in the 70s. Number 18 will be the next in the 20s. You guys effing rock. Thank you, my guy.
Thank you goes to Pat Tilley. Very much appreciated. Thank you for supporting the show on this level. Again, like, it is weird watching a player wearing that number, catching every pass. It's just, I'm not used to it. And not not only catching the ball, not body catching the ball. Isabella was so prone. It was like this. It was like me trying to catch a ball. It's like, oh, let me just shield it with my body and catch it. I'm just going to do this. And he's already undersized. You watch Dortch snatch the ball out of the air as an undersized player. Like, and I don't mean to knock a guy. I don't even know if he's on a roster still. Last I was heard, he was in Buffalo. Andy Isabella, his instincts were just so bad that now it's like, oh, look, this guy's been in the league for 5 years and he's a polished special teamer and he looks pretty good catching the football. Hey, Dan, you look good wearing 17. Remember there was talk of Marv wearing 17 and I almost threw up every day on the show when people were suggesting that. That would have been awful.
I think I was one of those guys. Andy Isabella's more NFL receptions than your guy Dan, though. So both 27 years old.
Who's in the league right now?
Just spitting facts here, Johnny.
Who's in the league? Where's Andy right now? He's in Buffalo. Could Andy be active week 1? Could Andy be active in the starting lineup for the Buffalo Bills week 1, Damon Dawg?
I mean, with that receiving core, he might be the number 1 option.
If he makes the final 53, we just change gears and we turn week 1 into Andy Isabella revenge game week.
Barf.
Do the Bills have any shame with the receiving core that they're trotting out there right now?
It's one of the sadder units in the entire league.
Has that line gone down yet? I'm hammering that money line.
I was looking when they lost one of their top defensive players. I checked the line out. It was still 6.5.
Cards money line plus 280. Buffalo's at minus 355 to win that game. Get out of here with that trash. I feel great about the Cardinals week 1. I get Josh Allen's all worldly. He's been awful without Stephon Diggs. He's been like a 500 quarterback. We're getting off topic. This is bothering me. I'm going to be that line is egregious. 6.5, 7. That's an egregious line. This is gross.
Picking spreads $2. Our guy Donnie. What's up with Max Melton, by the way? Haven't heard much. He returned to the practice field this week after missing some time. He actually returned to the practice field the final practice before they broke training camp in Glendale the day before the preseason opener. And he just hadn't practiced enough, so they didn't play him in the game, but he was full go. Our guy Damon got some good looks at Max Melton in action last week or the last couple of days, scoping out the defense against Anthony Richardson and crew.
I would say that it's kind of a good thing when a corner's not flashing off the screen at you, right? Because it means that he's not getting just absolutely diced up. So
he wasn't like on the bad end of Adonai Mitchell, probably wasn't on the bad end of like the Michael Pittman, who was a terrorist against the Cardinals.
Honestly, Sean Murphy Bunting was a little bit more clear cut getting cooked by on like the bigger plays, like the Alec Pierce defensive pass interference penalty that we talked about on yesterday's show, or some of those Michael Pittman plays are like broken coverages. I didn't really see Max Melton as the issue with some of those breakdowns in coverage.
I'm bullish on this group. I think it's after a year, Austin Ford has done a wonderful job in just supplementing just some really nice players in an otherwise like dismal unit. Like what they were trotting out last year, two kids at the back end of the draft that were your starters. And Marco Wilson was not, this is not opinion, statistically the worst cornerback in the NFL before they outright cut him. So again,
he's happy to be with an organization that takes things seriously. You know, did you see that?
I did,
he told reporters in New England.
He threw a shoe at somebody at Florida.
He threw a shoe. He was getting released and doing fashion shoots on his Instagram. And he thinks that Gannon and Austin Fort don't take things seriously. It's like, dude, like if that guy's Madden awareness is over 12, it's too high.
He had every opportunity, man.
Yeah.
They kept allowing him to go out there because they had literally no one else. And they were like, we're going to put a 21-year-old out there, Marco. Go away. Leave.
The lack of awareness, self-awareness in a guy like that on display, like you get concerned. Like they need help crossing the street.
They're
like that's how poor it is.
Jason, another $5. JV is looking for an edge rusher like the wave that hit him in Hawaii. Hashtag PHNX Sports. I would love to just be standing on a street corner and then Hassan Reddick just blasts me from the side and just nails me and I'm in the fetal position on the ground. But like Listen, I'll take one for the team. If we could sign that wave that hit me, I guarantee that wave could sleepwalk its way into 12 sacks for Jonathan Gannon. But listen, that the commute from Hawaii and Kaanapali Island is a brutal one to Arizona. Just trust me. But no, they need help. No movement on the pass rush front. This is a good transition here, Bo. Carl Lawson gone. If you missed our show yesterday, we did about 2 hours on the pass rush group. Carl Lawson from Bo's and Damon's hotel room signed with the Dallas Cowboys. Matthew Judon is now an Atlanta Falcon. If you would have asked me 2 weeks ago to the day is when BJ Ojulari got hurt. He tore his ACL 2 weeks ago. And you would have said, well, in the next 2 weeks, Lawson and Judon are going to be moved. I would have been like, ooh, Cardinals are in on one of those. Didn't get either. So we sit here, we wait, and we hope, and we pray that Austin Ford's got something up his sleeve that ends in Ndakwe or Reddick. That's what we need to conjure up here on PHNX Cardinals.
Or, whatever team comes out of the gates and is their 24 season becomes real, like prevalent, that they're going to go nowhere and pass rusher becomes available before the deadline. But right now, those are the ones that kind of monitor that market for both of them, one on the free agent and one on the trade.
Do you know how many sacks this team had last week as a unit?
Xavier Thomas had one. And is that it?
That is it. They had one sack. They had 2 QB hits. Looking it up now. I'm sorry. 5 QB hits. Cameron Thomas had one. Tyreek Smith, Naquan Jones, and then 2 from Xavier Thomas. Again, like Victor Dumakaji, Jesse Luketa, Cameron Thomas played the whole game and got 1 quarterback hit. That's not great. And on the flip side, the Saints had 4 sacks. So again, I know the preseason is not nothing for this podcast and this pass rush group tomorrow. Like if those guys come out and sleepwalk their way to like 0 or 1 sacks again, where I'm going to complain about it. I don't care if they're going against 2s and 3s and 4s for Indy. Like, do you either have it or you don't, right? So can we not grandfather people into a pass rush job we're talking about, we're begging this team not to cut a guy who's averaging 6 yards per carry for them, and we're going to grandfather people in who can't sniff the quarterback. Come on. You talk about playing the best players and keeping the best 53-man roster. Shit, just let Michael Carter rush the passer when he's not toting the rock. He'll do just a good job.
I think
Michael Carter's a pass rusher.
Dumakaji's been, legendary in preseason action before, and unfortunately it doesn't like translate to the regular season. But you do want to see it. You just want to see it unfold before your eyes. So you're just not like, well, maybe it will happen when the lights get a little bit brighter than regular season. It
gets worse. We've seen it. Right. The players get better. The Cardinals players at pass rusher stay the same. All right, I promise I won't get on a rant with this.
Yeah, you know what is getting better? Your options as far as if you're going to go out and have a couple drinks at night, the next day, you're not going to be feeling the effects, not nearly as much. Not with our friends Z-Biotics pre-alcohol. Let's face it, after a night with drinks, especially at Johnny and my age, Damon, he'll bounce right back. But we don't. So we got to go for those PEDs for a night out on the town, and it's Z-Biotics. You can either have a great night or a great next day, because usually you had to make a choice for yourself. And that was the case before Z-Biotics pre-alcohol. Let me tell you, there's a surefire way to wake up feeling fresh after a night out drinking with Z-Biotics pre-alcohol. It's so simple. It's the world's first genetically engineered probiotic, and it was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Smart people here, scientists. It's science, folks. It's going to help you the next day after a night of drinking. You got to check this out before your next vacation, where you got a couple nights together and then you want to go be, busy the next day, seeing the town, weddings, birthdays, reunions. There's so much going on. Get the most out of your summer plans by stocking up on pre-alcohol now. Go to zbiotics/PHNX cards to get 15% off your first order when you use PHNX cards at checkout. I believe that's the right code, PHNX cards, and you enter that in at zbiotics.com/PHNX cards, and you'll get 15% off. Thank you, Z-Biotics, for sponsoring this episode of PHNX Cardinals, and to all of your good times and less next days feeling it.
A historic performance right now. Caitlin Clark, the first half against our Phoenix Mercury.
Could have been there. We could have been there.
We could have 16 points.
Not you, me and Damon. Road Dog.
It's not your city. It's mine and Bo's. Let's get that straight.
That's rude. Historic performance from Caitlin Clark. A lot of people are saying my performance at Chicken and Pickle just a few weeks ago in the pickleball tournament at PHNX Sports was also historic. And yeah, I think Damon saw on full display. Bo was not there. But again, if you haven't made it out to Chicken and Pickle, what are you waiting for? Your premier hangout, eatery, pickleball, co-op, great time. I'm going to tell you right now, I've been to other pickleball courts. I've been to other places to get chicken. I have never seen a combination to go this hard. And in all seriousness, the nachos are fantastic. The wings are next level. The vibes are great. The facility is A+++. The Glendale location right now, I mean, if there isn't a hotter place in Glendale, I couldn't tell you where. And I can't wait to be out there this fall, especially when the temperatures start cooling off. I mean, that place is going to be packed Monday through Sunday. It'll be a great place to watch a little bit of football action, as I'm foreshadowing a little bit. Our indoor-outdoor entertainment includes a complex, casual, chef-driven restaurant and a sports bar. First of all, the sports bar is next level. The people are fantastic. They have great team members, employees there. And again, if you're new to pickleball, their newbie night is just for you. I'm not, but I can come out and maybe teach a few lessons, get on the courts with others who are ready to dink around. Instructions and facilitated play included. Plus, every participant receives a $10 Chicken and Pickle gift card. Head to chickenandpickle.com to see you all having fun at the Glendale location. In all seriousness, you know, we have a lot of great partners and a lot of great places to go here in Phoenix. We're spoiled. I'd be hard pressed if you gave me a sitter for any given night and said go and pick a place to go, I would 9 times out of 10 pick Chicken and Pickle.
Yeah, it's a great place. I love it. I can't wait to see what's going on game days out in Chicken and Pickle in Glendale. So wrapping up our week of coverage, we did survive the elements this morning. Damon and we didn't even sleep. It was such an early flight.
All-nighter.
We wrapped the show and realized we had because of the time change, we had 3 hours between then and when we had to get up and leave for the airport. So
you didn't go to bed?
Didn't. So when the time came, we left at about 4:30.
We watched some high quality movies.
Watched a couple rounds of Sports Center, and then
more than a couple.
Yeah, and then a couple crappy movies, and then it was time to get on the bird and get back to old AZ. So we get in our tiny little. It's like a European car. It's like tiny. It's like just you take a car and then you crunch it. Yeah, and that's what we have. I was embarrassed to be driving it, and when not only was I driving this tiny car, this compact car, we had a gigantic accident involving a semi, which nearly shut down the freeway. So it's pushing us all the way over from the right lane to the left lane. We squeezed by that, and then we had hurricane force rain coming down. It was a torrential downpour. The rain is sideways. I'm squinting. I'm barely can make out the road in front of me.
It made what happened at practice yesterday seem like the tamest sprinkle of all time. Yeah. It was literally the hardest rain I've ever seen in my entire life. You couldn't see.
I said, Damon, just buckle up. We're gonna close our eyes and I'm gonna take us home. And I'm gonna get us to drop this rental car off, and we're gonna get on the bird. We're not missing this flight.
Bo off of no sleep, 4:30 in the morning, just. Basically driving in the ocean.
It's like Jordan Game 7 flu game or whatever it is. Game
it was
6
like that.
Game. Yeah.
It was less shady. It was more like but the determination was right there on par. And we made it through. It was like I was navigating the arc, and I pulled us in to the rental car parking garage. And the next thing you know, we just boarded the plane and we're back home safe and sound. Like it never happened.
Congratulations to you both. You provided, I'm not being a smartass, tremendous coverage this week. And now you're back. And listen, these two guys, I told them, I said, you know what? Take the day off. I'll do a show. Maybe I'll do a mailbag, have some special guests on. They said, we're not missing this Friday preview show. And then, you know what we get to do tomorrow? We get to hang out, all three of us in studio. Party time. So guess what? This guy right here, I'm bringing the snacks. I'm bringing the goodies. I'm going to take care of my boys coming back from Indy. and the three of us are going to have a reunion as we watch Desmond Ridder and Clayton Tune vie for QB2. What would you rather do? Spend time with your family that you haven't seen all week, or watch a QB2 action with your favorite Cardinal podcast? And speaking of your favorite podcast, become a diehard. Go PHNX.com, unlock everything on the website, plus become a diehard, get a sweet free piece of merch, like shopping the number 18 collection and repping that MHJ gear that you would love to have, maybe in jersey form, but can't. Bo is rocking the very best shirt we've ever done, the MHJ tee, plus Maserati Marv cruising up. Looks like maybe somebody's favorite stadium. And then, of course, the touchdown tee, the math tee, 1 + 18 = 6. And I can't wait to see that on football Sundays. We didn't even talk about it. Marv not playing tomorrow. Would you say that's a fair assessment? You think Marv doesn't play?
No, I don't think that's necessarily out of the conversation. I think that there's still like things he can like what's his road game process look like? But is it much more than 3 snaps? No, I would be pretty surprised if it's much more than, a series or 2.
Illadre at 199. Marco Wilson. I can't cover Wilson. Appreciate you, Illadre, friend of the program. Yeah. I would love to see Marv against Michael Wilson or
Marco. Yeah.
Wilson. Excuse me. Would have had to have been last week though. Did he even play last week in the preseason game against the Cardinals, the Saints game?
Marco's on the Pats.
He's on the Pats now?
Yeah. They picked him up as soon as the Cardinals threw him out to the curb.
Was he not man? I thought he was on the Saints. Can't even keep track. He had the pick 6 against the Saints. That was his last good play.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably what I'm thinking of. Ken Weber saying Tune for QB2. I would love to see it. Like, I would love to just be able to watch a game where Clayton Tune's like, this is my job, Desmond Ridder. I'm Kyler Murray's backup. I was drafted by this organization just to see a guy put it all together, and have Clayton Tune be like the Cardinals' Chase Daniel. That's what I would love to see. Will it happen? I don't know. But here's what I want to see happen first and foremost. I don't want to see much more of this Bo Nix hoopla, Bo Nix dominating Bronco camp. I can't do that. I need the regular season to start now so the real quarterbacks can take over.
It's unfortunately going to continue for the next. You've got about 3 to 4 weeks to endure that. And you see it all across the board. Like, every quarterback looks unbelievable, pristine. And if they don't, then yeah, there's even bigger red flag for your organization. But that's what you're getting from Denver. Our guys from DMVR, they're all over it. I mean, as far as Bo Nix and his ascent from what we saw in Mobile to nearly top 10 draft pick.
Diana Rossini, who is supposed to be as about impartial as they come, said that Bo Nix is, quote, dominating training camp. And that he's just been unbelievable for the Broncos.
Also said that Zach Wilson's had a strong camp.
Is she being paid off?
I don't know, man. I mean, we know she has a relationship with Peyton.
She does. They're very close.
And I don't know. I don't know if and I'm not going to say, hey, do you have the ability to be objective here? I think just in all of these cases, like, consider the source, take it with a grain of salt, and then we'll see what it looks like against real competition.
Here's the tweet. Broncos knew after 16 throws at Bo Nix's private workout, he was the one.
Well, you also have Peyton saying like he was baiting the Vikings into taking Jay McCarthy. I mean, it's all hyperbole when it comes to Bo Nix. That's the unfortunate part. You can't get any good, true insight.
On the field, the rookie has been dominating the huddle and the playbook. Really? Sean Payton can't help but gush over the QB head coach combo. Could be in the future. Denver has the juice! ! What?
The league is shaking.
Yeah.
Bo Nix is going to overtake Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes with his rag arm. Like, I think he could turn Bo Nix into like Teddy Bridgewater, like when Teddy Bridgewater was viable for the Saints. But come on. So there's that.
Dominating the huddle.
What does that mean? I don't know what that means.
That's the one thing is like, what does that really mean? He's
the playbook.
Yeah. He's echoing the plays that he's getting into his headpiece, his earpiece.
So there's that. And then I don't know if you remember ESPN earlier this offseason, we'll end on this, rated Trey McBride outside of the top 10 tight ends going into this year. And then NFL fantasy, when the real metrics and statistics and evaluation comes into play, like who should you draft, who's going to be projected, they have Trey McBride as the #1 fantasy tight end in the NFL. Kudos to you, NFL Fantasy, and the people that work there at the reputable NFL.com website who are not there for clicks. They're literally paid to be right. It's like hedging in Vegas. It's like gamblers in Vegas. Who are we banking on has a big year? I don't know. Maybe number 85, who dominated last year with, 2s and 3s at quarterback until K1 came back. Not to have this guy. He's not on their list of top 10 tight ends for ESPN, yet he's the #1 fantasy tight end. Okay, make it make sense.
Yeah, and I'm looking at, was it Mike Clay for ESPN put together all his positional groups?
Great job, Mike.
It was awful. It was terrible. It was zero projectability, no foresight. Like there's some national reporters that made their way into Glendale for training camp, from Albert Breer to Charles Robinson to who is it? Jonathan Jones for CBS. And like, they got a firsthand glimpse of this and what it can look like. Everybody else, I'm not really like, I don't really listen to their opinion unless they watched some of the games last year and saw some of the players that, were going like that.
If you think Dallas Goedert is better than Trey McBride, you need to find a new sport because this one isn't for you.
Get help.
They wouldn't dare. They wouldn't dare rank the guy from AZ over the guy from Philly. They just wouldn't.
Trey McBride, like what kind of camp has he had? Real quick for everybody. I mean, it's been awesome.
Quietly strong.
Yeah. I mean, he shook Buddha in that one clip we had like a week ago. He's catching one-handed touchdowns. I mean, like, he's just going to pick up where he left off.
Yeah.
Very
confident, quiet, strong.
We're confident on this show that we're #1 because we are #1. Your #1 Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star. Drop a like on this video. Let's get this video to 400 likes here on a Football Friday. Helps the show out exponentially. You like this video, you comment down below who you would like to see win the QB2 battle in the comments below this video. In the meantime, go to your phone, your smart device, your mobile device. Subscribe to PHNX Cardinals wherever you get your podcast. Listen, the fun only continues tomorrow. Your boys are back in studio for your halftime and post-game show following Cards at Indy. Hopefully we see some fireworks, Bo, and more than 2 touchdowns this week.
Absolutely. And I also want to give a shout out to your old co-host, Blake Murphy. I saw that he's moving on from Revenge of the Birds.
I did see that.
Great content creator for Cardinals. I'm sure if you are on the social media streets for the Cards, you follow and see Blake's work. Shout out to him. Wishing the best for him in the future. Can't wait to see. Obviously, he's got his own pod. Check that out. But his run over at Revenge of the Birds was very strong. Very strong.
Absolutely. Blake's a great guy. Give him a follow. Give him support. And again, check out. We are huge advocates. Go look at other people's work. Consume it. Arizona Cardinal podcast. The more the merrier. Start your own podcast. But Blake does a great job, as do my co-hosts and my producer, for hauling ass back to the Midwest, from the Midwest to
risking our lives, Johnny. Don't forget that part.
Proud of you. Proud to share this set with you. This virtual set, and I'm fired up, man. We got
virtual tomorrow.
That's right.
We're gonna be all hanging. It's gonna be a good hang sesh.
That's right. I mean, we got 3 weeks left, and then we're jumping into what I think is gonna be the best season to date for this show.
Colts tomorrow. Broncos a week from Sunday, and then it's real.
We're going to have to watch Bo Nix eviscerate this
I don't
defense.
think we're going to get Nix. Do you think Nix plays in the preseason finale?
He's starting, I think, in this next one.
Right. But
our guy Albright said he's about ready to be named the starter.
Wow.
Zach Wilson, though, if the Cardinals get carved up from Zach Wilson, my pass rush rant will be an all-time. I don't know if I'll have chest convulsions. I'll have to step away from the show. When I'm watching Victor Dumakagi getting stonewalled as Zach Wilson picks this team apart, that's not going to be good for anybody.
No, it wouldn't. But we've got a little bit of time between now and then. In the meantime, have a great Friday night. We'll talk to you tomorrow at halftime of Cards Colts preseason week 2 for the Redbirds. Join us, won't you? And have a great start to your weekend. Talk to you soon on PHNX Cardinals.
We all silly like the mayor.